Well, hey, and welcome to another episode of Beetle Dustino coming at you again, yet this weekend with another video. I've been videoing it out. So, anyways, we've had a lot going. It's been a Beatley November. So, we got the next thing up is the Beatles 64 documentary and kind of my thoughts and review on it. Let's get that after the intro. So yes, yesterday we had the Beatles 64 documentary released, and I've watched it a couple of times now just to kind of get a good feel for it. Not that I didn't have a good feel for some of the footage already, because if anybody knows, you've seen this too, the Beatles' first visit. I know this is based off of another film too from back in the day, but the Malays or something brothers, Maisley or something, I can never get their name right, that did this original one. They use a lot of their footage from it to kind of produce this new one through the new director and producer there with Martin Scorsese, the producer. I'm not going to focus on who all did what with that, but I'm more going to focus on what I saw in it. And I really liked it. As there wasn't a ton of new stuff, I guess, because like I said, if you've seen this, it's kind of this with a little bit of sprinkling of the Ed Sullivan Show performances. Not really a lot, actually. I thought there was going to be more, but just a little bit of that. A little bit of the Washington Coliseum performance, which I think some of that was in this too. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a really fun little documentary, and it added in some new voices to it. The talking heads, as everybody says. And we got old fans that they somehow found that were like in the background in the photos there. And now what they're doing now and kind of they're living it all. Fans that were, became stars and that and so forth and so on. I really, and by the way, spoilers ahead. So I'm going to talk about certain scenes and certain things that were revealed. So if you haven't watched the film yet and don't want it spoiled, please go watch the film on Disney Plus right now. It's about an hour and 46 minutes long. So it's not terribly long. So it's long, but not terribly long. It's not a 2.5 hour, 3 hour thing or something. So it goes by pretty quick. Yeah, but it opened up with the whole Kennedy thing and kind of that angle on it. And, Paul has always said that. It's always been Paul that I've heard talking about that, Kennedy had just been assassinated and all that going on in the United States. And their coming there was kind of part of why they became so big, was people were looking for something to kind of fill in that wound, kind of heal that wound, And I think especially of the younger generation at the time, and seeing this again and hearing what people said in that, these other fans and stuff, I think Paul has always been onto something with that. I think it is part of what helped them heal. Was the positive music and upbeat, cheerful music of the Beatles coming in and, kind of ushering in that new wave of rock stars that, preceded it, as, we've seen since. And even mentioned in the documentary here a couple of times with the Rolling Stones and stuff like that. But yeah, that opening there, and the All My Lovin', the fact they had that cover of All My Lovin', I'm not sure who was the cover on that, really gave new meaning to those lyrics, kind of showing it how it was there with, Kennedy's funeral and everything in there. That was a little tear jerking and stuff on that. But anyways, as it progresses here, we do get, the talking heads, as everybody says, but I kind of like that too in some ways. Like I said, I've seen the original one of this, which was following what they were doing there. And this doesn't go in, chronological order quite like this did. So, one moment you're talking about Washington, and another moment you're back in New York, and one minute you're on the train, and now you're back to here and there. So it kind of here, there, and everywhere, I guess. But, we got the talking heads, and the one that stood out to me the most, that had the biggest, and this is kind of the biggest spoiler, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it. This was, to me, the coolest thing, and I think this guy was the absolute star of the show. And I thought I had heard his name before, and as the end result came out, it was like, oh, okay, yep, that's where I've seen that name. But it was Jack Douglas, who they listed as a music producer. And he told this just crazy story of him and his buddy that after the Beatles landed in the U.S., said, okay, these guys are from Liverpool. Liverpool must be where it's all at. We got to go over to Liverpool. And they got a boat over to Liverpool. Went in, got there. Immigration stopped them at the port there, and asked them what they were up to. And they said we're musicians, wanted to come play. And they got told, well, you don't got a visa, so forth and so on. They got held up on the boat. Well, he snuck off of the boat, went and stuck to a record store the first time he snuck off, and got the Beatles' new album and listened to it in one of the listening booths. And another night he went over and talked to the newspaper and told them him and his buddy's plight. They're being held up on the boat by immigration. And the newspaper ran the story, front page. Had people going down protesting at the boat to get them freed. Immigration let them out, but told them they couldn't perform, but they were under a student visa. And turns out, long cycle of the story, he's working on the Imagine album, being an editor on it, and John Lennon himself pops into the editing room one day, sits down with him, just looking for kind of a peaceful place to kind of relax and such. Gets chatting with him about Jack heading to London there to Liverpool, I'm sorry, with his buddy, and strikes Lennon that, oh, you're one of those two Yanks that got the cover of the paper and knocked our album in our hometown off the front page, our new album, and ended up promoting him though in the spot. He went from editor to engineer on that, so pretty cool there for Jack. And like I said, I'm sure that's where I've seen his name, is browsing through who worked on the Imagine album and stuff. So that's pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that story. I think, to me, that was the star of the show. He really took it on that story. He really had me. I've watched it through twice. Both times I've watched it, I've really been hooked on that bit of the story. Some other kind of notes I got on it, so I kind of led with that, but some other little notes on it. I really loved, and I think you kind of saw it in this one too. It was David. I watched it with the captions, so you kind of got to see, the names that were saying it. And it was David Maisley. I like I said, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right. One of the brothers that originally did the footage on this. I think he was kind of the main camera guy. But I thought it was so funny on how he was always taunting the fans on oh, the Beatles are just down there. I promise you, they're just down there. He was just trying to get them all in trouble, I think. Like those two girls that snuck into the hotel there. He was playing right along. Oh yeah, Brian Epstein. Yeah, he knows, they know Brian Epstein. He told the security guys. He knew what was going to happen even with that. And it was more than there. I mean, it was all over the film several times. He was trying to point people in the wrong direction just to see the reaction on, can I trick them to go down there type thing. I got a big kick out of that. Another scene pretty soon after that I got a big kick out of was Little Richard talking about Pat Boone covering Tutti Frutti. That whole thing was hilarious. Not really totally Beatles related, aside from, I suppose, Long Tall Sally and the Beatles doing that. And I suppose he approved of Paul's version of it because Paul sang it a lot like Little Richard there, with where Pat Boone just sang it pretty flat and whatever. Very kind of boring. Another running little theme there that I picked up on, and again, I think it was in this, I just might not have picked up on it as strong, but I think part of what made me really pick up on it is that Ringo still, in one of the current interview things, was still talking about it, and where that Murray the K, how he kind of came into the scene there. It sounds like he was almost like one of the crazy fans that broke in, but somehow got let in and not denied. And I didn't even notice throughout it, they were making fun of him the whole time. John especially mocking his voice, laugh on the train, and Paul coming out of the club all kind of drunk there the one night. And hey, Murray the K, I like these people's style and the American style, and I love that hat. Which I really think was in this too, because I remember him, I love that hat thing. But yeah, where did Murray the K come from on that? And I know he's a big record guy, or a DJ in New York there at the time, and was probably big on the scene with that, but it kind of sounds like he wasn't totally invited by him. He just kind of showed up. So And anyways, I got kind of a kick out of too. Oh, another good scene, and I don't know if this might have been a new one. There was a couple of young ladies out on the street there getting interviewed by David of the brothers there that did the filming here, and they were. It seemed like he was starting to taunt them, and I realized then after it wasn't David the brother that did the filming. It was some other guy talking there that was taunting them, claiming he was their manager at first, and they kind of didn't buy that right away, and then claiming he was one of their brothers, and they also didn't believe that. And I loved how they turned it on the guy, and well, I'm a Vanderbilt. Then I got thinking of Mrs. Vanderbilt, the Paul McCartney and Wings song from Band on the Run. I thought that was kind of funny that came in. Like maybe was that the Mrs. Vanderbilt he was meeting? So, anyways, the other one that really I got a kick out of was the Carnegie Hall story with Sid Bernstein and how they're a British phenomenon. No, failing to mention they're a rock band and not some string quartet or something. And somehow he got angered the Carnegie Hall people on that, and to the point they wouldn't let him come back in. But yet 4 months later he conned him into having the Rolling Stones on the stage. That for sure was done. Definitely done after that one. So that was a good little scene of it too. And another one that I saw, and I'm pretty sure you could see that going on in this one too, so still from the older footage there, not, the new Talking Head stuff, was George and the train porter. I know they used the scene to promote a couple of things. They had like a little early clip that was on YouTube and Disney Plus and all that. They had a couple little 30-second clips from the film. And one of them was the one where George came kind of sneaking in through the train, squatted down and, came up to John, and they did this whole like exchange of their jackets. And you could see in the background, the porter was standing there watching it. And you could see he was getting a kick out of it. And then pretty soon after that, the porter's knocking on the door there, minus his jacket and minus his hat. And here comes George with the porter's hat and his jacket and a tray of beverages. And somebody got in his way and messed up the scene there. But the porter, the fact that they had that guy playing along with them and having such fun with them and everything, I thought that was really kind of fun. And that's kind of the last of my notes here. I think the best of the Talking Heads, and I mean, there were several really good ones. I really liked hearing, I've heard it before, but Ronnie Spector's whole little story of them hanging out with them taking them to Harlem, to the barbecue joint and all that. I loved hearing that again. I loved the Isley Brothers talking about it and, them singing Twist and Shout and how they thought that was so cool. I loved the scene with Smokey Robinson and talking about them. There was a lot on that with Smokey Robinson and the whole, them using the song and doing the song. And then he did Yesterday later. They didn't really talk about that factor, but you could kind of sense, okay, well, the Beatles did mine, now I'm going to do one of theirs type thing. And, just the respect that they gained with everything on that and how they approached it all, that they didn't Pat Boone it, I guess is the best way to say it. That, they recognized the people that came before them and, flat out said to people in interviews and stuff that they were fans of that music. I don't know a lot on the other people's stories on that, if they ever did give recognition like that to the artists that they were, covering. I know there's a lot of that with the white music, black music thing, and, a lot of white music that became popular was black music that they didn't ever get credited for and stuff. So, awesome that the Beatles did, because, the original artist should be getting credit for it. Just like, when somebody covers the Beatles, they should be getting credit for it and that. So, yeah, I don't know. Overall, I thought it was good. Definitely for like new fans and stuff, I think this is really going to be a good gateway into the Beatles, much like Get Back a couple of years ago. And I love that they always do this around Thanksgiving time here in the United States. So it was Get Back a couple of years ago. That was right around Thanksgiving time. Now this is right around Thanksgiving time. The anthology, when that came out, that was my big intro to the Beatles. I'd been listening to them for a few years before that, but that was what really solidified my Beatles fandom, was getting to see that and learning their personalities and everything through the anthology. And, what a story that was. I mean, how many hours, especially once you did get the the big VHS set, not just what aired on TV at the time. Once you got the big VHS set, the DVD set, the Laserdisc set, I suppose, was out too. Once you got one of those, as they were kind of released there, and how much more you got on that, and wow, the personality shining and everything. So kind of a new generation, their anthology, but much shorter down and only 1 year of it, but enough to make that people kind of look at, other documentaries and docuseries and stuff that are out there. And, hopefully maybe we will get the anthology kind of re-released and somewhere where streaming services can host it. And I really think that it should be, because that is still holds up good and is still a good docu-series to watch and everything. So hopefully something comes of that. Another thing I was going to talk about too, as I almost forgot here, was the little soundtrack that was released. Speaking of that, and there was like a week ago, I guess it was last weekend this got released, and I haven't really said much of it on my channel. But I wanted to kind of wait until I did my review of the film and kind of do my review of that soundtrack, especially once I heard what was actually in the soundtrack of the film, because I suspected, and I was right, that, they said in the promotion for the film that, they had cleaned up the audio from the Washington Coliseum, from the Ed Sullivan shows, stuff, the Ed Sullivan performances, and the Washington Coliseum. And, everybody's like, oh, us Beatles fans always are hoping for a physical media release of something, especially if they're saying they cleaned up the audio aspect of it, that, oh, maybe there's a new album coming out, with those concerts and that series. That would be awesome, and we always got hope for that physical media. And so of course there was an album released digitally. I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day physically. I think the album cover is really cool, which is pretty much the poster of the film too. I think that would make a great album cover, basically. It was kind of sad as I got listening to it. I was really kind of excited when I first got listening to it. I've always enjoyed the Beatles covers and hearing the original songs. I thought that was cool that several of those songs you got kind of paired with the original artist and then the Beatles version. I thought that was cool, but not everyone. There were several other Beatles cover songs that never played the original artist on the album there. And that was kind of a downfall. And what I suspected too, like I said, a lot of the music that was used I figured was going to have the live versions in the film, and they just used whatever the current best version of it is. So either the recent 2023 mixes that would have went on the Red album, or the 2009 stereo remasters. The fact that they didn't put the live track on there, being as that was what was in the film, kind of disappoints me now that I've heard the film. But like I said, I was kind of suspecting it the more I heard it. Like, why would they have this song in here? I know they played this at the Washington Coliseum. I know they played this one on Ed Sullivan. Why wouldn't they put that newly mixed track on it, especially cleaned up? And that's stuff, like us old fans would really like, is new audio available. But then we'd really be complaining that the physical version of it didn't come out. So, but maybe they got a plan on this, that maybe there'll be a box set, and I'm going to, start throwing this out there, maybe sometime next year, a box set coming out with the film on Blu-ray or 4K. I don't know. I don't think they need to go quite 4K level on it, but at least Blu-ray. And then, have a album, maybe with the live album, the Washington Coliseum concert, the, stuff from Ed Sullivan performances, stuff like that, would be pretty cool. So hopefully something like that comes out of it. Maybe a little book, kind of talking about it all too. But that would be, I think, a really nice box set. However, I don't want to see it bump Rubber Soul again. As I'm talking, like, Rubber Soul is supposed to happen, not possibly could happen. We're all just hopes and dreams on that, but yet we also expect it. So, and now I'm expecting that this might happen too. So I guess I'm throwing another one in there, and then they'll disappoint us with some other re-release. Maybe they'll do the 65 albums from the US next, and all of us will really scratch our heads. Not that the box set was totally unsuccessful, but I just don't think it's what us real fans wanted. I think we want the back catalog remixed and redone, and brought up to kind of modern standards, and kind of fill in the holes of what these other albums that we've got so far are. And it'll be sad if that doesn't happen, where, last year we got the Red and the Blue album. This year we got the US album, 64 albums in mono. It's kind of, yes, they're great to have, but not quite what the fans are really wanting. So now I got another one out there for people to think on. Oh God, is that going to happen now? I'd really like that, a box set with the film and the soundtrack with the live, audio too in there and stuff. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling now, and I kind of want to get this shorter down because I am super tired. I haven't got much sleep because I was up at 2 in the morning watching it up until 4 o'clock as I got done there, because Disney Plus drops them at about 2 in the morning. And I haven't got another bit of sleep since, because I was up for Record Store Day and I've been out doing all kinds of stuff today, still celebrating the holiday weekend and some other stuff that's been going on the holiday weekend here for me. I haven't got much sleep, and I need to go and edit. See? I'm slurring my words, and I haven't even been drinking today. But yeah, I need to edit this and get it uploaded. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. So, as I'm slurring my words and everything, I'm going to get totally signing out. And I want to thank all my subscribers, and thanks to any new subscribers. And boy, if you've sat through this one, you must really like me. And also, if you do like the video, please give it a like. I should have said that after this part, the you must really like me part. But yeah, please give it a like. It really does help out the channel and the video. And like I always say, yeah, if you like the, if you stuck around to this point, you must like it. There we go. So please give it a like. Do leave a comment. I love having a discussion with everybody. All right, and I'm done rambling. We're done. Now I'm rambling about rambling. So, anyways, leave your thoughts in the comments here, and just let me know what you thought of the film and the soundtrack and everything else that's been going on this week. Or this month, because we had George Harrison, the Living in the Material World. We had the U.S. albums, 1964 in mono, and Record Store Day, and this film, and the soundtrack for the film digitally, whatever. But yeah, there's been a lot going on this week, or this month, the last couple of weeks here. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on it all here. And I'm going to get fully signing out. I'm Beatles Dustino signing out.